Today I have Henrik Edberg on the phone, and he runs an extremely popular blog that you can find at positivityblog.com. Henrik has managed to build a 50,000 plus subscriber blog without being a native English speaker and without using any magical abilities. So no fairy dust or pixie dust involved. In this interview, you'll discover how he did it and how he makes a full-time living as a blogger. So without further ado, let's dive right into the interview. So today I'm here with Henrik from positivityblog.com, and we'll be diving into his story and how he went from basically scratch to building a 50,000 subscriber blog and basically an online business that he now devotes his time to full time. So how are you doing, Henrik?
Well, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. So could you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Henrik Edberg, and I live on the west coast of Sweden in a small town called Uddevalla with my fiance and 2 cats. And I run a pretty popular blog on personal development called the Positivity Blog. And like you said, it's got over 50,000 subscribers and a couple of 100,000 visitors each month.
So how did this all start? I think I remember bumping into you back in 2008 or 2009.
Yeah, that's probably right.
So how did you get the idea to start this blog?
Well, I had done some websites online before. I did one on Bruce Springsteen and one on the pop band New Order back in the late 90s. And then I heard about blogging in about 2006. I thought it could be a fun way to share my own thoughts on personal development, which was something I had recently discovered, and I wanted to share what my thoughts and what had worked for me so far.
So did you have any fears before you started?
Not really. I just saw it like a fun hobby or a fun website to do. I didn't see it as something I would work on full time or earn very much money from or something like that.
Okay, so you basically just started it as a fun thing, as an experiment, and you didn't have any goals of making money with it?
No, just to write some posts and maybe talk a bit with other people around the world about personal development.
So what did the early days look like? When did you start realizing that this might be something you could earn money from?
Well, I read that Steve Pavlina, the personal development blogger, earned quite a bit of money from AdSense, the Google advertising program. And so I added that to my website and thought I could maybe earn a little money, and I earned a little money. And also, one of my posts got picked up on dig.com, a social network or social media network, pretty early on in the fall of 2006, I think. And I got about 40,000 visitors in just a few days.
And what happened then? I mean, did you try AdSense, and you probably tried other advertising and affiliate offers? How did the early days, what did it look like? Did you earn a lot right away, or was it just a few dollars here and there?
It was just a few dollars at first, or maybe a couple of $100 a month for the first, basically the first few years before I started adding more affiliate offers and my own products.
So in terms of growing your income, what kind of things did you do? Did you focus on advertising or affiliate products or your own products?
Well, I started to focus on creating my own products in 2010. I first created my first ebook then, and that got me up a few levels in income from the blog. So that has been a focus for me since then.
So were the affiliate offers and advertising, they all were always kind of a few $100s a month, and then when you started adding your own products, that's when things started taking off?
Yeah. I probably earned $1,000 or $2,000 for some affiliate offers once or twice a year, but mostly it was just a few $100s a month.
So what got you into creating your own products? Did it take you a long time, like, to actually get your first product out there, and did you have any fears around that?
Yeah, I probably had some fears that people wouldn't buy it, or they just wanted the free stuff but wasn't prepared to pay for premium stuff too. So I probably was a bit hesitant to create my own products at first.
So what got you over that initial hump?
Well, I just reached a point when I had to do something to level up the income and the engagement for my audience, because it didn't work to just earn a few $100s a month if I wanted to at least get part-time pay from the blogging.
And at this time, you worked a regular job as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did that. I did the blogging, and then I used to work a couple of months in the summer and maybe a couple of weeks in the winter at the local newspaper, doing the layout and proofreading and stuff like that.
Okay. And lately, I think you mentioned that you've quit your job and you're now focusing on your blog full time.
Yeah, I've been doing the blogging full time last year and this year.
So how do you come up with the ideas for your products? Like, how did you come up with the first product?
That's a good question. For the first product was called The Power of Positivity, and was an ebook where I collected some of my best writing and some new stuff on many different topics related to positivity and what was popular on my blog. Okay,
so you basically looked at what blog posts were doing well, and you went from there.
Yeah,
that's a bit similar to what I did with my first few products. I basically just looked at what people liked and where they were having trouble, and I created products around that.
Yeah, I did the same. I think it's a pretty good approach because you have already tested it on the free stuff, and if people really like it there, they probably will like it for the premium stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons why it's good to have a platform and have an audience, because you can test things, you can create small products and test them further and then expand.
Yeah, that's true.
So what happened next? How did you come up with your next few products? Was the process the same, or did something change?
Well, I started to send out a survey once a year where I picked a few topics that I were interested in creating products around, and also added a question where I wanted people to share their biggest difficulty in life at that time. And that gave me a lot of ideas and a lot of feedback from over 1,000 people or 2,000 of my readers.
So in terms of pricing your products, I think you have, the last time I looked, you had not low pricing, but very affordable. Like some products are $17, some are $37, $47. How did you come up with the pricing?
Well, I basically tried different pricing. The low pricing has worked pretty well, but if I wanted to earn a larger income, I had to raise the prices. So some products have cost $59 and $69, and I have tested with different price points. And the ones that worked the best are the one I'm using now for the products I'm having right now.
How did you test prices? Like, did you use any software or any tools?
No, I basically had some prices and I saw how many people bought. And then I tried a lower price for a while and see how that affected the income.
Okay. So how do you promote your courses? Do you mention them in your newsletters, or do you let people find them organically?
Well, both. I have a page about them on my blog and some banners, but I also tend to mention them at the end or somewhere in my newsletters that I send out.
Okay, so is it like a PS at the end, or is it something else?
Yeah. Usually I send out an email or a newsletter about one idea, like self-esteem, and then I have a few ideas or tips in the newsletter, And then at the end, I say that if you want to learn more, you can join my course on self-esteem.
Okay. Do you also send out blog posts with your newsletter?
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Okay, so mostly it sounds like you're sending out exclusive content that's relevant to the courses you have, so you can link to them if people want to dive deeper.
Yeah, that's correct.
So let's see. Do you do any sales for your products, like any bundles or anything like that?
I usually do a 72-hour sale when the birthday is for my blog, and that's usually around the end of September or the beginning of October.
Okay. And how?
Then I do 25% off or something like that for the products.
Okay, so do you do 25% for all the products? Like if people have to buy them individually, or do you bundle them?
They have to buy them individually so far.
Okay. And let's see here. I had a good question, but I've forgotten it.
Okay.
Let's see if it comes back.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, we can talk about how you managed to grow your blog to, let's see, it's at 59,000 subscribers right now, it seems.
Yeah, that's correct.
So what kind of strategies did you use? For example, I've used guest blogging a lot. Have you done anything specific?
I haven't done much guest blogging, actually. I know that a lot of people have done it, and I'm planning to probably do a bit more of it myself. I mostly grew the blog through social media like Dig and Stumble Upon early at the start in like 2006 and 2007 and 2008, because quite a few of my articles became really popular on those social networks.
And was that basically the initial momentum, and then things grew organically from there?
Yeah. Then many of those articles and other articles became popular on Google and other search engines and other social media.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like the initial momentum is where it's the hardest to get going, and guest blogging helped me do that. And some people use SEO, some people have good success with social media. So it really comes down to finding something that works, because it seems it's a lot harder these days to utilize, say, Dig and similar sites to get a lot of traffic.
Yeah, that's probably true. Back in 2006 and the following years, much of the traffic came from Dig, for example, and I don't think they have the same audience anymore. And I know that other big sites like Zen Habits also had a lot of articles that went popular on Dig, and they grew the audience from there.
Yeah. So in terms of selling your products, do you have any, like you mentioned, you have sales, which creates urgency, but when you say you link from your newsletters, do you mostly just link people to the sales page and then people can buy if they want to? So there's no limited time offers or anything like that?
No, they can just go and check out the product if they thought the article or newsletter was really good. And then they might join my course, or they might not.
So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from launching your first few products, or really all of your products? Anything that comes to mind?
Well, the first product, the Power of Positivity ebook, I didn't have any kind of event around that. I didn't have any limited sale or any added bonuses or anything. And then it didn't really sell very well at the beginning. So I've learned to do some initial discounts or adding extra bonuses and stuff like that for the first few days or the first week to get a good sale going right away.
So did you find that even though it didn't sell well right away, did it continue to sell? Like it's kind of like the sales were stretched over time?
Yeah, the sales for all of my products really have stretched out good over time. So it hasn't just been when I do a starting sale at the beginning when I launch the product. They sell every week.
So you said you like to do events. What does an event look like for you? You mentioned having bonuses and pricing. Is there anything else?
No, that's basically it. I tend to blog about the product and talk about it in my newsletter a few weeks before to build up some anticipation and to let people know that it is coming. And then I do a small event, like for my latest product about social skills. I had a 25% off for the first 100 people to join the course, and that worked out very well.
So in terms of bonuses, how do you determine what bonuses to offer? Do you, like if people buy a new product, can they get an existing product for free, or are the bonuses something exclusive?
The bonuses, the times I've used them have been exclusive, that I've added or created for just that product and for just that event or sale.
So do you have an example of this?
Well, I think I relaunched the Power Positivity ebook, added 5 new bonuses to it that were there after the sale too, and that they could get the book for like, with the bonuses for 25% off, I think, for a few days. And that really created a second launch for that product that did much better than the initial launch without the bonuses and the discount.
Okay, so you basically added bonuses and people could get the bonuses and the ebook for the same price as before, and then the price would go up?
No, I would just do a limited time where they got 20 or 25% off, and then the price was the same as before. But that also increased the sales during the regular weeks, so to speak.
Okay, so
they got more for their money.
Okay, so you had a discount and bonuses.
Yes.
And then the bonuses they stayed there after the discount.
Yeah.
So do you ever do anything like you have bonuses, but then you remove them completely?
I don't think I've done that.
Yeah, it seems like it's easier to have a discount and then leave the bonuses maybe at a higher price, because it usually takes a lot of work to create the bonuses.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to spend a couple of weeks or a week on doing that and then just let them stay on your computer. It's better to share them with the people.
Yeah. So anything else, any other lessons or any other mistakes you made launching your products?
Well, I think maybe one mistake I made in the beginning was to create a bit lower priced ebooks. And nowadays I create courses that stretch out with step-by-step instructions for a number of weeks, usually 12 weeks. And I find that gets a better response, and I can also charge a bit higher price.
So when you make courses, what differentiates your courses from just being ebooks?
That you get a specific plan, and that you get just a few action steps and just a few things to do each week. So you small chunk it instead of just saying, here's the ebook, 200 pages.
Yeah.
Do what you want with it.
So do you also include audio and, like you said, maybe workbooks?
Yeah. They usually get a small PDF to read, like 10, 15 pages, and then audio version of that PDF. And then they get a small worksheet with a couple of questions so they can apply what they learned that week to their own lives, or they can write down what they have learned throughout the week.
So how do you deliver these courses? Like, how do you charge, and how do you then send them to people weekly?
I use FastSpring to sell my products, and when someone has signed up for the course, they get an email, and there they get a link, and so they can subscribe to an email list. And then each week they will get an automatic email with that week's lesson and download links.
So do you use any membership software to protect your content?
No, I haven't done that yet, but I'm planning probably to do that later on this year, next year too.
Okay. So any reason why you picked FastSpring to be your payment processor?
Well, you recommended it.
Yeah, I really like them.
Yeah, and I think they're really good too. Really good service. And I used eJunkie and PayPal before, and that complicated the sales page and made it look worse than it does on FastSpring. And I noticed as soon as I did the switch at the beginning of last year, the sales went up a bit just because of that.
Yeah, they really help you design the checkout process and make everything more effortless for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the downsides of FastSpring is that they don't have an affiliate program, or they do have split payments. But have you found that to be a problem?
Yeah, I've done a few sales for my products for other people's emails list and so on. So I've used eJunkie and PayPal for those limited time sales, but it would be good to be able to do it more easily with FastSpring.
Okay, so you basically set up a different sales page and used PayPal and eJunkie there.
Yeah, just made a copy of the sales page, and then I just switched out the sales links on the sales buttons.
Okay. So what would you say to someone just starting out with their blog and they want to grow their blog and maybe make their first few $100s? Any specific tips you'd want to give them?
I recommend them to write really great content, of course. So a lot of people will share it on social media, and also so Google will pick it up and perhaps put it on top of their search results. I will also recommend to add an email list to their blog, because I found I get the most engagement on my email list. I get the most comments, I get the most response, and I also get the most sales via the email list.
So how?
And then
So how important would you say that your email list has been to your success and to your ability to quit your job?
It's been huge. I didn't have an email list either until the beginning of 2010. And that also increased sales quite a bit. I probably get 2/3 of my sales via the email list and 1/3 via the blog.
Yeah, I found that having an email list really accounts for 90% plus of the income I get from Wake Up Cloud and the sales I make.
Yeah.
So one thing that popped up is, how often do you send out emails to your email list where you have a tip and then you link to one of your products?
I usually send out 2 emails a week. One email at midweek, maybe Tuesday, and then I send out 1 email on Sundays.
Okay, and do you always promote something or at least mention a product?
Yeah, I always mention a product, just one sentence, like if you want to learn more, check out my self-esteem course, and then it's a link.
Okay, and you mentioned like getting to the top of search engines. Do you do any SEO, or do you just write your post and let the search engines find your articles organically?
Yeah, I've only really written my articles and hope that people like them, and so they would rise to the top of Google.
And you also mentioned that it's important to write great content. So what would you say is great content? Like, what characteristics does your content have to have for you to see good results?
It has to be helpful for people, and inspiring. I think a lot of people say that read my blog and my newsletters because they help them in a very practical and grounded way, but also because they like to read them in the morning, for example, to get a good start to their day, because it's motivating.
So do you have any specific, anything you go through, like a checklist or like in your mind or on paper, that ensures that your blog posts are helpful, inspiring, and practical?
Not really a checklist. I just check my posts. I really add practical tips or really inspiring paragraphs when I write. And I usually have a lot of list content and a lot of bullet points, so people easily can take action on what they learn.
Yeah. And at this point, I'm sure you probably feel if your blog post is good enough for your standards.
Yeah. I get a good sense of that. And also, I often can feel if a topic will do well or not well just because of my own enthusiasm for it or a sense of my audience, I think.
Yeah, I found something interesting where sometimes when I'm really inspired and write something, it doesn't resonate as much with my audience, but sometimes when I write something, it feels okay, it feels good enough, and then suddenly people really enjoy reading that. So it's interesting how sometimes there can be a huge difference on what I feel and how my audience reacts. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I did one post called 16 Things I Wish I Had Learned in School about in 2010, I think. And it's been a huge success. It's probably been read a million times or so. And I just put together a lot of the stuff I had written before into a one long list post, and people just loved it. And I was more satisfied with a few of my other posts I'd written that month, but it really took off.
So what does your writing process look like? For example, how do you find ideas?
Well, ideas usually just pop up in my head. I may have a conversation with someone about something, and I think to myself, and something associates in my mind about what we talked about, or I may be out having a walk in the woods or in the shower or something like that, and just an idea just pops up in my head.
Yeah, I find I keep an idea, like I keep ideas in Evernote or Workflowy, but usually I just get an idea, I get inspired, and that becomes a blog post, a course, or something else.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I always keep something to write down ideas, like my cell phone when I'm out. And then I get home and I usually create a list in a Word document of a few bullet points or something. And then I may write an article of that, or I may create a product around it a little later on.
So how do you write your posts? Do you have any specific thing you do? Like, do you outline? Do you have questions you ask yourself, or how do you do it?
No, I just start writing, really. It just flows out of my head. I don't have really... I just let it flow, and then I try to edit and rewrite later.
Okay, so basically maybe it's similar to what I do. I basically free write, I let it dump my mind on paper, and then I start putting in subheadings and make sense of everything.
Yeah, it's usually the same. I sometimes put in subheadings too. I guess I've been doing it for so long, so it often happens pretty automatic when I write the posts.
Yeah, I found that outlining my post beforehand gives me a good overview of what I want to cover, but sometimes when I'm really inspired, I'll just dump everything there and then maybe leave it or fix it later.
Yeah, I sometimes outline it too, like I mentioned before. When I get an idea, I often think, well, that's a good topic, and then I maybe add 2 or 3 other bullet points or subheadings to that document too, and then I pick it up later and write the whole article.
So what are your plans moving forward? Are you going to continue creating courses, or do you have something else in mind?
Well, I'm focusing now on launching a new blog and newsletter about the things I've learned about blogging and making a living online, and that will launch later on this summer, I hope. And I will also create a new product later on during the fall, but I haven't really decided what it will be about yet.
Okay, that's interesting. What sparked this idea? Were people asking you about it, or do you just feel inspired to do it?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, how do I get more traffic? How do I get an audience? What are your tips for a new blogger, or for someone who wants to make a living online, or just want to make a side income online? And I found that it doesn't fit really well with my audience. It doesn't get the really good response with my personal development audience on my newsletter and on my blog. So I've decided to split it up to a new blog and a new newsletter. And then I can get new readers from like Google and social media. And I can also get the readers that were actually interested in blogging from my old newsletter to my new newsletter.
So we touched on some of the ways you've gotten traffic. Is there, like, if you were giving traffic tips to a new blogger, what would you say to them? Like, we touched on great content and all that good stuff. Is there anything else?
I'd probably recommend that they guest blog too. I haven't done it much myself, but the few times I've done it or had one of my articles re-syndicated on a big website, I've gotten a lot of response and a lot of new subscribers.
And now that we're coming to the end here, are there any hiccups or any big roadblocks you run into during growing your blog to a full-time income? Any frustrations or really big mistakes you made?
Yeah, I'd say the two biggest mistakes I made was to not have an email list until 2010 and to not create my own product until that year too. That really limited my income potential. And there also have been a lot of frustrations like with technical stuff and with hosting companies having really bad service. So I switched hosting companies 2 times in these 7 years. And that has been really worrisome and a bad experience. And also the blog was hacked once. So there's a lot of troubles that you run into from time to time.
Yeah, I guess that comes with having a popular blog.
Yeah, but I haven't had very much problems because I've done this for like 7 years. So 99.9% of the time, it's been really interesting and good and fun. And I get a ton of positive response from the readers.
Yeah. So what host are you with right now?
I'm using a Swedish host called Orderland.
Okay. That's interesting. I haven't done any research on Swedish hosts.
No, I've been using Swedish hosts for all this time, really. But I might switch to an American host later on or an international host because I would get faster load times for my blog, for example.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I use an international host or really something in the US, because most of my audience is from the US and Canada, and I'm sure yours is too.
Yeah, that's true. So you probably have a good plan there, and I probably will follow later on too.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if load times actually change or if anything improves.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know how fast your load times are for the American audience?
No, I don't really keep track at all. I have someone managing Wake Up Cloud, so they basically take care of everything.
Okay.
So one last question, which is almost the same as the last one, but let's see if you can come up with something else. So if you could take a time machine, go back to the Henrik just starting out, what would you tell him?
I'll tell him to not worry too much about getting a negative response, because I think that held him back in the beginning from creating new products and from people getting angry because he wanted to make an income from his blog, because I haven't experienced much negative views at all, really.
Yeah, I think
not from my free content and not from my premium content either.
Yeah, I think that's a common problem people run into, or something they would like to tell the version of themselves just starting out, is basically to go for it, don't worry too much, and let life do what it does.
Yeah, because I would like to have added my own products and email list earlier, but I also learned a lot in the beginning when it was more of a hobby or a fun thing that I maybe earned a few $100s from. So it made me the vlogger I am now too, all those struggles and learning to write better and so on.
Yeah, the mistakes really help us learn the lessons we need to learn deeper instead of just doing everything perfectly, which no one will do anyway.
No, because if you have to go beyond your comfort zone, I think you have to make mistakes. And you have to. It doesn't always feel good, but it always leads to something good in the end if you can keep a constructive and optimistic viewpoint.
Yeah, and I found that the more popular you are, the more likely you are to get someone who gives you negative feedback. For example, I haven't had a lot of negative feedback either, but sometimes I get a few emails here and there. But it's also good to realize that the negative feedback isn't really a reflection of what you're doing. It's more of a reflection of how people are feeling inside. So if someone's angry and they bump into your website and it doesn't fit with their worldview, then they might send you an angry email or leave an angry comment. But in reality, it has nothing to do with your website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same too. Because in the beginning, when I got the negative response, I sometimes thought that I was doing something wrong. And probably sometimes I did stuff that was a mistake. But as you said, it's often about them. And it's easy to think that everything is about yourself and everyone is very focused on you and what you are doing, but they don't care that much as you may think. So don't let such worries hold you back.
Yeah,
I think.
So one question that popped up is, how do you create your products? For example, do you use Microsoft Word, or what do you use to create your ebooks?
Well, I use Microsoft Word, yeah. And then I create a template with some colors and some design within that. And I write a bit in that, and I create a worksheet in Microsoft Word too. And then I create the audio version of the guide in Audacity, the free audio recording software.
Okay, yeah, I use Audacity as well. It's both available for free, both for the PC and the Mac, and I think Linux as well. And it's really easy to use once you learn it.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's really, you don't, you have to invest a bit of money in maybe a software to create your products, but often you have Word or something like that on your computer, and then you can turn it into a PDF file, and then you have your ebook. You can create your audio version or your podcasts or what you want for on Audacity, also for free.
Yeah, and there's a free program called OpenOffice. I'm not sure if it's still called that, but you can Google it, and it's basically a Microsoft Word copy of some kind, and you can create your PDFs there as well.
Yeah, so it's very easy to get started. You don't have to invest a lot of money that you may not have available.
Yeah, and it's better to get started with a small product, even if it's a $7 product, rather than working on something for 6 months to a year and then realizing that no one wants to buy it.
Yeah, that's true. And I would also like to mention that I got over my fear of or hesitance of creating an ebook by creating a free ebook in the beginning in 2010, before my Power of Positivity ebook, like 33 pages that I gave to people if they signed up for my email list. And then I had created my ebook in a small way, and then I was not so hesitant or worried about creating a bigger book and a premium product.
Yeah.
So I took a small step forward.
Yeah, that's what I like to focus on as well, is tiny steps, because it makes the fear and the pushing out of your comfort zone much more manageable.
Yeah, I also focus on that a lot on my blog when it comes to personal development, because a lot of people get stuck and they don't start at all because they think you have to make some huge leap.
Yeah.
But it's often better to just take a small step forward with your diet or with your self-esteem or something like that, and then work on that month after month.
Yeah. So do you have anything you'd like to add? Because I've run out of questions.
Yeah.
And do you have any last words of wisdom?
Well, I'd like to add that if you want to make an income or create a big audience for your cause, as a blogger, And on your newsletter, you have to be aware that things take time. A lot of people email me, and I see they write on other blogs that they've tried for a month or 2 or 5 months, then they haven't had much traction, and things often take more time than that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, which we've somehow forgotten to mention here. And something you have to remember also is that when I started Wake Up Cloud, I had already been online trying things for 3 years, and I had other websites making money, so I had a good head start, and I had a sense of how things worked, even though I hadn't really blogged before.
Yeah, and also I had a similar experience because I had created a website in English about the Papua New Order like a few years earlier. And I created Swedish websites online earlier too, so I had been online. And I'd also written a lot in Swedish before about music and film on Swedish websites, and also have a journalism background.
Yeah, so if you're just getting started with everything, then it's very normal for things to take time and for your writing to get better and for you to build an audience. But the key again is to just focus on taking tiny steps and doing what you can do and then seeing what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to focus on whatever you want to accomplish in your life, or if it's personal development or blogging, that you don't have to be so hard on yourself, because people are often hard on themselves. They think I'm a failure because I haven't done this in a month or 2, because it may take longer time than that.
Yeah, something to keep in mind as well is that even if you succeed in one thing, you'll just want to do something else, because that's how life works. We're always growing, always evolving. So there's always going to be something you can improve about yourself and about your life. And if you relate to that in a way where you're not happy because you don't have what you think you need to have, then you'll most likely be miserable for most of your life.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I think we'll wrap things up there. And people can find out more about you over at positivityblog.com. Are there any other places people can find you, or is the blog the best place to start?
Yeah, that's the best place to start for now.
Okay, so thanks again, Henrik, for doing this.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
And that's that for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, while building a popular blog isn't easy, it happens one step at a time. And it happens by you taking the first step. You have to be willing to start before you feel ready. You have to be willing to work with what you have. And if you want more tips on how to turn your passion into a thriving lifestyle business, visit wakeupcloud.com and make sure you join the free newsletter and grab your free goodies. So that's all for now. I'll see you in the next episode. This is Henri, signing out.